Hello and welcome to the Oakland A's UK live stream on Saturday, September 4th. And oh boy, do we need to have our spirits raised today. Yesterday against the Toronto Blue Jays in a game that I wouldn't quite say was must win, but was getting close to it. The A's had it won by a mile, then they stuffed it up, then they had it won again, and then they really stuffed it up. Boy, oh boy, that was an absolute nightmare of a loss yesterday, 11-10 to Toronto. And you do have to say, if the A's come out today feeling deflated, feeling low, you can't blame them for it, but they've got to find a way to break through because the A's need to start winning games. That is desperately clear to everyone to see. And yeah, it's going to be difficult when you lose games. It's always tricky, but lose games like we did yesterday, dearie me. I'm not going to go on too much about yesterday's game. We'll have a quick look through some of the details, but we need to be positive and look ahead to today's game. And that is coming fairly soon. It is a 8:10 start here in the UK, so 12:10 midday in Oakland. Where are we now? So that's about 45 minutes away. A slightly earlier one than we're used to because it's out there on the East Coast, and it's even earlier tomorrow, 2 hours earlier. So a really early one tomorrow. But hopefully the early start will kind of help the A's. Maybe it will mean that the A's won't sit about thinking about the game yesterday too much. They'll be right back on it and right back into the groove because they need to be. Absolutely devastating yesterday, and we need to pick ourselves up as fans as much as the players. If you're watching live, do get in contact via the comments either on Periscope or on YouTube, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on them and to include them in. We're going to have a look at yesterday's game and look at today's lineup and try and find reasons to be optimistic for today, which is difficult, bearing in mind how badly our bullpen has been going of late. But is any lead safe with the A's? I mean, we nearly let the lead go against Detroit on Thursday, didn't we? We were miles ahead there and somehow, nearly threw that one away. But fingers crossed things are going to be good today. I am going to keep score of the game today. I kept score last weekend when we won, so I'm going to keep score. I'm going to have to do my lineup card after this live stream. But yes, hopefully we can get the job done today, and hopefully we can do a good job. Hello to Remy, Skybolt starring Tragedy. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, I understand it. Well, the tragedy, I guess, more than anything, is that Starling Marte is out of the lineup after being hit in the head yesterday. By all accounts, he is okay. But I think just a bit shaken up, and don't think he's had a single day off since joining the A's. I mean, why would he? He's been playing so well. But yeah, hopefully it's just a precaution. That seems to be the case. That's what Beaumel said earlier today to the press. So you need someone to play centre field. And I guess they could have moved Mark Canner out there. He's played there a bit last year. But yeah, Skybolt at least can play centre field, but not really a guy who's very popular among A's fans for fairly good reasons. And yeah, hasn't hit much in the big leagues, but hopefully he can come through for us today. Seems a bit of a stretch, but at least he can play some good defense out there and we can get some things going, but we will see. Talking about getting things going, let's have a quick look. Let's get it out of the way, shall we? And look at yesterday's game. This was the box score in terms of the batters yesterday. I'll get rid of that banner so you can actually see it. That would help. And that's all part of the frustration. 11 hits, 10 runs. We've had so many issues with the offense so far this season, but the A's came through yesterday. There were home runs. You know, it was a good performance, but it put us in an 8-2 lead and we stuffed it up. And the same went for the pitching. Let's have a look at the pitching. Coming into game yesterday, I think for everyone, the big question was, what are we going to get from Sean Manaea? He had an awful August. Got moved to play in the game last night because it would have been Frankie's turn, but he's had visa issues in the past, actually, not just this time in getting into Canada, as some other players have done. So Frankie got moved to the Thursday game against Detroit, and then he came in. So Manaea pitched last night against the Blue Jays, and I think many of us were concerned about it, but Manaea pitched really well, exactly what you wanted to see. Really back into good form. 9 strikeouts, only 2 runs. But then look at that. Trevino is just... Right now, he looks like a lost cause, doesn't he? Let's be honest. Petit, normally so reliable. You can't keep going to the well every time we lose players. And Romo looked shaky in the game on Thursday, but came through. But yes, the 3-run home run to Marcus Semien, we kind of all knew that was coming. We all love Marcus so much. We all enjoyed the photo Tony Kemp put online of him, Marcus, and KD together having a nice meal in Toronto. But yeah, really disappointing. If we'd have lost that game via, I guess what you'd say, a comfortable loss, like just a standard loss, didn't really factor in it at all, and we're always out of it, that would be disappointing, but you could get over it. But the way we led so much and just threw it away, we threw away a win, and that is tough to take. When the batting lineup finally was firing, and Sean Manaea was finally back on form, to let all of that go to waste and to lead to another loss is just criminal. It's criminal, and it's difficult. I know some A's fans have really been getting on Bob Melvin's back, and I don't understand that at all. I think it's the players that play. It's the players that have got to make the pitches, and it's always easy to blame the manager when it doesn't go right, but it's not the manager's fault that the players he's been given are struggling. And who else is he going to turn to? You know, when you look at the lineup, you look at the bullpen, who else is he going to go to? You know, if we're all sat there thinking, well, why is he pitching this guy rather than this guy? That's fair enough. But who else is actually pitching well in that bullpen to say, well, they should be pitching the 8th or the 9th? You know, there's not really that many guys who are going well. So you just have to trust in the players and hope they can turn it round. And let's be honest, we're now at the stage where you might as well go with what we've got. It would be a big, I wouldn't say surprise, but it would be a big effort to make the playoffs now. Well, there's plenty of games left. We're on the outside looking in, aren't we? And we can look at the standings in a moment. So I think go with it and see how far we can go. If we look at the standings, here we are. So the big issue yesterday wasn't just that we threw our game away, but that everyone else lost. Of course, Toronto lost. Toronto won by beating us yesterday, but New York won. They won 4-3 in extras against Baltimore, so they were taken to extras by the Orioles, but still managed to come through. So that was an opportunity missed. Boston had a 5-run 7th inning to beat Cleveland 8-5. So those two teams maintained their positions in the wildcard standings. And then you had Seattle beating Arizona in extras, and of course Houston beating San Diego too. So I've not even bothered putting the regular season standings in terms of the AL East up because that's too depressing. But there you go with the wildcard. We're on the outside looking in, 3 behind Boston, 4.5 behind the Yankees. Seattle are just 1 game behind us now. Toronto 2 games behind us, and it is all going to pot. So, are there any reasons for optimism today? Well, let's have a look at the lineup to see if we can think of anything that will raise our spirits and make us confident that we'll get the better of the Blue Jays today. Well, there's not too much, let's be honest. I mean, with Starling being out, I guess that's a lineup we've got, really. The issue, I guess, would be KD, and that KD isn't in. Potentially, he could have DH'd. Maybe... I mean, I guess that comes back to Jed Lowry, how his legs are holding up, because you could have gone with Josh Harrison in left field, Canner in center, Jed at second base, and therefore KD as the DH. You could have done that, although Bob Melvin has been quite consistent in saying that he was mainly looking at KD playing against lefties, and it's right-hander on the mound for them today. But yeah, there we go. That's the lineup. Josh Harrison, Tony Kemp coming up the order, batting second in place of Starling Marte. Odie and Chappie, Jed in 5th, playing DH. Mark Canner at 6, left field. Chapinder back in the lineup, and out there in right field. Sean Murphy behind the plate, and as we mentioned, Skybolt gets the start as the centre fielder as much as anything, with Starling Marte getting a day off, and Ramon obviously being suspended for the rest of the season. Bolt is in there and batting 9th, and it's Paul Blackburn on the mound. Now, Blackie, I would say about him, he actually feels slightly condescending today. I was surprised, but I think going into the game on Sunday last week against the Yankees, we were a bit nervous about Paul Blackburn being the guy going in there. He's someone who has had struggles in the past. Obviously, he hasn't really nailed down a major league starting place. But he did a good job. I think the key thing with Blackburn in that game against the Yankees was that Bob Melvin didn't push his luck. He went 5 innings, did a decent job. I think he gave up 1 run, didn't he? Let me have a look at the notes. No, he didn't give up any runs, 5 hits, but 5 scoreless innings. And then you had the heart of the Yankees order coming up for the 3rd time. And Bo Mulder said, no, you've done your bit. You've given us a nice 5 innings. That'll do us. And I think that's important with someone like Blackburn. Don't try and push your luck with someone like that. The more teams look at him, the more they're likely to hit him. He's a guy, not an over-empowering fastball, 91 miles an hour. He's mainly fastball cutter and adds a few things in. I mean, he throws his changeup. Looking at my notes, throws his changeup 18% of the time against lefties. So he's kind of fastball, curveball, and change against lefties. He's mainly just fastball cutter and curveball against righties. So we'll see that a bit today. But we need Blackie to have a good game for us because we need that platform. If we go, I don't even want to think about it. If we go behind early in this game, it does feel very difficult to see the A's coming back after the blow of yesterday. We really need the A's to start off well and just to hold it steady all the way through. A nice victory, and that will do us. I mean, it's going to be tough against the Blue Jays because they've got a good lineup today, and they've got a good pitcher on the mound in Jose Berrios. He's obviously most known for being with the Twins for many years, came across to the Blue Jays at the trade deadline this year. He's made 6 starts for them, looking at my notes. It was done pretty well, 3.73 ERA over those 6 starts. He did go through a little difficult patch, as Sean Bernard did. He had 3 not so good starts in a row, but then last time out he faced Detroit, struck out 11 along the way, 7 innings pitched, 1 unearned run, struck out 11. So did pretty well there. The A's have faced him twice already this season when he was with the Twins, so there's a bit of familiarity there for the A's hitters. They know what they're going to face against him. Went 5 innings in April against us, 1 run on 4 hits. Then on May 15th, pitched 7 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 8 hits. There were home runs there by Oli and Mark Canha, so hopefully we can get the better of him again today. He's a guy, fastball, curveball against righties, basically. That's all he has. And fastball, curve, and then he throws in a changeup to lefties. So hopefully the A's can get the better of him. And it feels like a really big game today. I don't know about you, but if we can bounce back today and get the win, I'm confident that we will be able to take some momentum from it. If we lose today, even if we win on Sunday, it's still not the week we needed. We need to be playing winning baseball now. We're on the outside looking in. We need to be catching up with teams above us. So we need to be playing winning baseball. If we go 2-1, that's perfect. That gives us a 4-2 week. If we go 1-2, it's a 3-3 week, and that's really not good enough for us. And especially if we lose today, you kind of get the feeling that the heads are really going to drop. And I hope that isn't the case. I hope we win today, and I hope we come out really well, but it feels like a big game today to me. And if we can do it, fantastic. But if we don't, is that almost our season over? Who knows? It's going to be tough. What do you think of the game last night? I thought it was a bit of a nightmare. I'll be honest, it was a midnight start here in the UK. And I was feeling pretty tired after work yesterday, so I didn't stay up and watch it. I was going to, and I thought, no, I'm not going to be able to keep my eyes open for the 3 hours or so. So I'll wait until I wake up in the morning and see what the score was. I saw the score when I woke up. I looked at the box score, saw the highlights, and that was enough for me. I mean, highlights, as far as you can call them highlights, an absolute nightmare. And it just, as mentioned earlier, it's not just losing a game. You can lose a game against the Blue Jays. They're a very good team. It's the manner of that defeat. You couldn't really draw up a more painful, more soul-destroying loss than being 8-2 up in a game against a really good team and chucking it away, then getting ahead again with the home run by Mark Canha, and then chucking it away again with a home run coming, of course, from one of our former favourites, Marcus Semien. Just an absolute shocker of a result, a shocker of a game, and a performance that, frankly, could be the start of the end, the beginning of the end of the A's playoff hopes this year. And if we really want to get down on things, we do then have to look at the off-season. We know there's so many players who are arbitration eligible. We've got a whole bunch of free agents, players who are going to get erased in arbitration. So you do get a feeling things are going to be broken down a bit. This is a big series of both teams. It certainly is. You get a feeling that Toronto have come into this knowing, they're behind us in the standings and obviously are behind the Yankees and Red Sox in the wild card. So they really needed at least a 2-1 series win, if not to sweep us, to really feel like they had a good shot at it in September. And getting the lead yesterday, when we were 8-2 up, they're not out of it at that point in terms of the wild card, but it's a real blow to them. For them turning it round, for all it was soul destroying for us to lose that game the way we did, for them, it's about as big a boost as you can get. So you do have to think the Blue Jays, their fans, they're going to be at Rogers Centre today, absolutely buzzing with the win yesterday and really coming out to drive home the advantage. And the A's have got to find a way to counter that. Bob Melvin and the coaching staff have got to get the guys up, got to get the spirits up, got to get the confidence back quickly, because you do get a feeling if Paul Blackburn starts off a bit shaky, if we let some opportunities go, if we concede some runs straight away, we are going to be in trouble, unfortunately. And hello, French A's, always good to have you on board. Nice to hear from you on YouTube. Hope you are vaguely confident today, like the rest of us. What's the score prediction today? Yes, Alex needs to win today because tomorrow Robbie Ray is pitching the Cy Young Award favorite. Yeah, he is. I mean, Robbie Ray has been a fantastic addition for them. They obviously signed him they traded for him last year and re-signed him for this year. And yeah, he's been tremendous for them. I mean, a very good pitcher. And that's a tough assignment tomorrow, trying to get the better of him. So I mentioned earlier, we really need to win this series. When you look at it, we need to win this series 2-1 after winning the other series 2-1 and have a 4-2 week. Even losing a series 1-2 right now, it makes for a 3-3 week, and that's not good enough for us to chase these teams down. It's not good enough for us to chase the Yankees down, bearing in mind they're playing Baltimore at the moment, and the Red Sox who are playing Cleveland, who are out of it. So we need to be making ground up on these teams, and that means winning series. And we need to start today. There's no doubt about it. If the Blue Jays win today and then sweep us tomorrow, we're in big trouble, especially with the Mariners winning as well yesterday. So the Mariners are right on our tail too. I mean, it's getting a bit critical, isn't it? And it's so disappointing because you going back even just a couple of weeks ago, you kind of felt that we'd been through a real lull after the All-Star break, but there were signs that maybe we were coming out of it. Although Mania was struggling a bit, Frankie was really coming back into form. Chris Bassett was still pitching well. There were a few guys in the bullpen who were looking a bit shaky, but we were generally holding things together. And Marte and Harrison and Gomes were really gelling with the team. And things were coming together, it felt like. And now, just in the past week, we've had the Ramon Laureano suspension. We've had Chris Bassett getting hit by the line drive. It's like anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And the boost of getting Chad Pinder back, the boost of bringing up KD, I don't know. It feels like even if they're playing, we've got so much else going wrong that we're not really seeing the benefit of it. You shot the Padres out in the wild card spot. I think everyone is shocked at the Padres. I do always think you see it every year, every off season. People are very quick to start talking about who won the off season, and it seems to me like every year we learn that whoever wins the off season doesn't really translate into definite success during the regular season. But we fall into that trap every year. The Padres have got a really good team and they've made some good additions, but it hasn't quite come together for them, and that can happen. I think the main shock, of course, is the way the Giants have played. I know we don't really want to talk too much about the Giants on this live stream, but they've been a real surprise, and the Padres have just fallen away. And you get the feeling that maybe a few of their guys were, I don't know, a bit overhyped. Obviously not Fernando Tatis Jr., but they made some big additions to the pitching staff, and none of them have really come off. And yeah, there was a real feeling among the media that they wanted to crown the Padres as champions and the team to take it to the Dodgers. And it just hasn't happened, has it? And you do wonder where they'll go next year, really, because they've still got some really good young talent, but we're already seeing, there's kind of buyer's remorse in terms of Eric Hosmer, who never really looked like he would end the contract he signed, and now he's kind of stuck on that big contract and no one's going to want him. They went big on Manny Machado, and he's a very good player, but, down the line, is he really a guy you want to be paying that sort of money to? So it's not like they need to tear everything down, but it will be a very interesting off-season as to what they decide to do with AJ Preller and the rest of the front office. That, they clearly need to make changes there, but they've committed a lot of money to a lot of players already. So the kind of the wriggle room they've got to make many changes doesn't seem to be too big. So we'll see what the Padres are able to do over the offseason. But again, it comes back to the A's. What the A's going to do this offseason, I think it's looking more and more likely that we are going to have a bit of a teardown. And I don't like the sound of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. Do you get scared when Guerrero steps up to the plate? I mean, the man's a beast, isn't he? And I mean, other than the games against us, I do think it's good to see, because he's, bearing in mind, he's a, whatever you call it, second generation major leaguer, a great starlet and Hall of Fame that his dad was. He's a guy that is easy to like, bearing in mind his character, and he's a bit of a beefy guy, but you kind of like him for it. And you want to see players like that come up and do really well. The same as what we're seeing with Tatis Jr. Even with Shohei Ohtani, I know it's difficult for us as A's fans seeing him do well against us, but we need those stars coming up and shining brightly and bringing fans into ballparks and just bringing attention to the sport. So I definitely like Guerrero Jr. He's clearly an amazing talent, and he's having a real breakout year. And he's a good example of a player who was incredibly highly touted as a prospect, and it's really easy to overlook how difficult that transition to be in a major leaguer is. Even Mike Trout, for example, in that first period when he first got called up, didn't do too well. It's a big step up being a major leaguer, playing against teams that have much higher quality pitching all the way down the line, with teams who will do a huge amount of work in studying your weaknesses and trying to exploit them, and with pitchers who are good enough to do it. It takes time to adjust, and Guerrero has had to make adjustments, it's clear, and he is really coming good this season, and it is nice to see. And thank you very much, sir. Love your channel, just subscribe. That's good to hear. Thank you very much. We try and do live streams, particularly ahead of day games, because they're nice and easy for us to watch in the UK. So yes, we'll be doing a few more. In fact, I may not be able to do one tomorrow, to be fair. Probably I'll do one after the game tomorrow, I think. I'll be out most of the day tomorrow. And tomorrow's game is a 10:10 start in Oakland, isn't it? Oakland time. So it's 6:10 p.m. here in the UK. It is on UK TV, I should point out, on BT Sport. So yeah, I'll do a live stream after the game tomorrow. And hopefully it will be a celebratory live stream rather than us, I don't know, having an end of season party early if we get swept, because yeah, that's going to be tough to come up against, isn't it? But anyway, yes, it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully, I don't know if this has cheered anyone up. I'm not sure if I've cheered myself up too much here today, but we can, what did I say? Misery likes company, and we are all a bit miserable at the moment, so we might as well be miserable together and just desperately hope that the A's can turn it around, because it's the way with baseball and the way with any sport. You're only one game away from starting a winning streak, aren't you? And if we can turn this around, if we can come back today, let's be positive. I'm going to end this on a positive note, guys. If we can bounce back today, bearing in mind the manner of the loss yesterday, if we can put in a great performance today and really come good and win today, that could be the game that kicks us on for the rest of September. Let's try and be positive on that. Oh, good news. Baltimore winning 1-0 in the 5th over the Yankees. Yeah, Baltimore actually played the Yankees well yesterday. Yankees only came through in extras, didn't they? So hopefully Baltimore can do us a favor today, and Cleveland can do us a favor against the Red Sox. Win or go home. I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? I mean, again, if we lose today, win tomorrow, it's not a complete disaster. But we need to be winning. We need to be winning series, and having won previous series this week, we need this one 2-1 at the very least. Otherwise, we just start running out of games to claw back games in the standings against better teams. And we do have a difficult September. We've got the Astros quite a bit. We've got a difficult schedule coming up. So if we don't win now, when are we going to win? And we're going to run out of games if we don't start going now. And that's a big struggle we have, and that Bob Melvin has. You're looking at the bullpen now and just thinking, well, where do we turn? Where do we turn when we get a lead? Who do you go to? I'm not sure we can trust any of them right now. Yeah, the Jays have momentum for last night, and that's scary. They do. I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, for all of it was devastating for us. I wouldn't say their season was on the line this series, but they clearly desperately needed to beat us in this series to climb back into the wildcard stakes. And we had them on the ropes. We had our foot on their throat, basically. And somehow we allowed ourselves to be pushed off and kicked to the curb ourselves. So if you're the Blue Jays coming to the game today, you couldn't be more up for it. You couldn't be more confident. You couldn't have more momentum going for you. Come today, beat the O's again, sweep them up tomorrow, and you are right back in the wild card. I think technically they'll be behind us, although they'll have the same amount of wins or something like that. Or maybe they'll be above us, but we'll see. And David, always good to hear from you, David. That's the scariest thing, Matt. We can't trust anyone in the bullpen. And, that's the position we're in. And I will say it's always fair to question the manager when things to get right. That's fine. But I do genuinely think the bullpen is something that Bob Melvin regularly gets criticised with and how he manages it. But, good player. The thing that makes managers look good is having good players. Simple as that. If you've got good bullpen arms that are doing well, then the manager looks clever. And if you don't, then there's only so many buttons the manager can press. If every button is fail, 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 well, you're going to fail whichever button you press. And that's going to be the issue now. And it's difficult as a fan because you look at a guy like, Lou Trevino has completely turned into a pumpkin, hasn't he? And we saw that with Blake Trinan a few years ago, didn't we? And it's weird how relief pitchers can go like that. But Sergio Romo has looked shaky after being fantastic for quite a while. Diekman is always a little bit risky because he walks a bit too many people for your liking, although he misses bats. And even Yasmaro Petit, we go to him so often. And I think that's the thing. I think maybe as much as anything, the issue we've had recently with the bullpen is that the starting pitching generally hasn't been very good and hasn't gone too deep, with Mania having his August troubles, with Bassett obviously going onto the injured list, with Cap and Cole doing fine, but going for a bit of a bump, which is exactly what you'd expect from younger pitchers playing their first true full major league season. You expect them to go through a bit of a difficult time in August, September, where they're just not used to pitching so many innings, especially after the shortened year last year. We've had to go to the bullpen a lot, and it doesn't matter how good the bullpen is if you're asking them to pitch 4 innings every game, day after day, then at some point something's got to give. A bullpen can bend for a little while, but you use them too much and they're going to break. And I think it is fair to say, as much as people will jump on Bob Melvin, I think as much as anything, it's been, not to blame them, but I think it's been in the large part the struggles of the starting rotation that have broken the bullpen. And when you factor in the fact that the offense hasn't been very good for a while, but is now seeming to kick into some sort of gear, I don't know. It almost feels like even in the first half when we were doing pretty well, it never felt like we had all 3 parts of the roster going at the same time. And I know that's often the case for teams during the course of a major league season, but I don't think we ever have at any point in the season. We've had the offense going well, the starting rotation and bullpen all firing at the same time. It's been a struggle all season long. And, when you're battling, I always say this, Bob Melvin and the front office go to the table at least 50 million short every year. And that's on John Fisher. And there's only so much you can do to make up for it. And I feel it's this sort of, it's the dog days of September where these things start catching up on you. You can get by on string and sellotape for a little while, but you need quality. It's quality that counts. And we went out and got Trevor Rosenthal. He was going to be the answer. We were all excited when we signed him. And that's a big issue when you have such a small budget like John Fisher puts on our front office. If you go and make a statement in signing someone, even when you backload the contract, if they don't pan out, you can't then go and get someone else. Like the Dodgers, they can waste loads of money on Trevor Bauer, they can still go and make a trade and bring in Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. We don't have that luxury. We went for it with Rosenthal. He's not pitched for us all season, and it always felt like that would come back to burn us. It always felt like, because we didn't have a true guy to be in the ninth inning, we were having to push Trevino up or Diekman up or Romo up above where they really needed to be. And again, you can only get away with that for so long. I think that's what we're happening. I think that's what we've seen happening. Sorry. Yes, when I hit a 2-run home in the ninth, I thought it was over. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the killer, isn't it? You know, we had the game there ready and won, and we chucked it. And yes, I think that's a perfect way of describing it, David. A bullpen full of Jim Johnsons at the moment. 8-2 is 99% game over. Is that your prediction for the A's today? or is there another game you are talking about, mate? Well, the Mets are 9-0 up on the Nationals. But the Mets being the Mets, that's still in the top of the fourth. So if ever a team could, if ever a team was worse than us at giving up good positions, it's the New York Mets, isn't it? So yeah, hopefully we can win 8-2. I will definitely take that today. Although let's be honest, if we win a scrappy 3-4 game, and even if we don't really deserve it, if we get over that line somehow, some way, somehow, that will do me fine. We just have to win. Just win is the answer today, and hopefully we can do it. Right. So about 15 minutes away from first pitch, I've got to write up my scorecard because, you know, it brought luck last weekend against the Yankees. Even in a Sunday night baseball game when it started at midnight, I was keeping score at home, trying to bring us luck, and it worked. So I am going to make that sacrifice for you all. You're very welcome. I'm going to keep score of the A's game today, and hopefully that will bring us some luck. Yes, baseball has no game clock. Anything is possible. And that's a very positive note to end on. Thank you very much for commenting all throughout the live stream. It's always good to hear from people. That's why we like doing the live streams, to connect with fans wherever you are in the world, in France, in England, in the UK, elsewhere in Europe, and obviously out in the States. It's great to have you along. It's the community that makes baseball, isn't it? Same with all sports, really. We go through the good times and the bad times together. And we're in a bad moment at the moment, but maybe today is the day we turn it around. There we go. Right, I will get on with filling out my scorecard, and we can all get on with enjoying the A's, hopefully beating the Blue Jays and getting the season back on track as we push for a playoff spot later on, and to try and win a wild card. The ideal, face the Yankees, knock the Yankees out and go all the way. That's the dream. Feels a long way off right now, doesn't it? But maybe we can get there. Thank you again for watching the live stream. If you don't follow us already, obviously we've added one subscriber to our YouTube channel. I'm very grateful for that. But if you don't follow us already and you're watching the recorded version after the game, then do consider subscribing both to the YouTube channel and us on Oakland A UK on Twitter. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the game. Hopefully we can. See you soon.